Lone Rider here, and I want to talk briefly about the ZWA double wide or musketeer epee blade compared to a standard short epee blade, which is what's often used for practice smallsword swords. You'll note these both have the same shell guards and knuckle bow, although there's a slight difference. The front quillion on this one does not stick out as far. I was kind of surprised they're not the same, but being budget, offering, it doesn't bother me. So let's look at this first of all. This is a number 0 epee blade from Absolute Fencing, and you'll see that the distinguishing feature of this blade is that it narrows dramatically right here after the shoulders and then stays narrow all the way down. You'll also notice that the groove in the bottom, the fuller, is of a deep V cross-section. Now you look at the double wide or musketeer blade, and you'll notice that the main difference in terms of the profile is it does not taper suddenly. It tapers gradually, leaving it much thicker all the way down the blade, even in the foibles of the blade. Also, the groove on the back is a shallow, rounded groove, not a deep V, leaving a lot more material in the blade, and meaning that this is going to be a lot stiffer. Now, I'm actually glad I have this, because I think it does more closely approximate the proportions and construction of a historical smallsword blade than the epee. The shortened epee, or the junior epee blade, is not a bad simulator. And it's certainly a lot cheaper. This costs about half the price of one of these blades. However, this does more closely, I think, resemble historical smallswords, especially as regards the fuller or groove on the backside. It is more of a shallow, rounded groove than a deep V like on the modern epee blades. And the result is not only that the handling, the appearance, and the weight is closer, I think, to a historical smallsword, or at least to many of them, but so is the flexibility. If you look at this, this is the double wide. For the same amount of force, it doesn't flex nearly as much. So it's going to be stiffer, even up in the foible of the blade. Now, when I was considering purchasing one of these, I couldn't really find anything online. Much like with the ZWA hilt fittings, there wasn't a lot of reviews or anything offering images that you could use to make a comparison or decide which one you might want. There have been people who talked about the difference between the standard epee and the double wide, though. But again, visual comparisons were hard to come by. So I figured I can put this out there. Maybe it will help the next person who's looking to decide, do I want to spend twice as much for a bare blade, keeping in mind that, blades don't last forever, right? It's certainly easy to just go down to your local fencing shop and, pay $20-some and walk out with a number 0 epee. Whereas one of these you'd have to order from a place like ZWA, and it may take a few days to get there. And up until I did this video, you'd basically be ordering it sight unseen, because there really was nothing online I could find by doing any kind of a search that offered a visual comparison between these two in terms of how they fit. I do want to compare the tips. If you look at the epee, whether you're talking a number 0 like this or a full-length adult one, your standard epee is going to have basically a nailhead tip. The end of the double wide or musketeer blade is basically just squared off. Now that's kind of irrelevant, because it's going to have a rubber tip on it if you're practicing with it, against another person. So that's not going to be an issue. It's going to have something like that on it. Both of these would. Either type of blade, and the person is going to be wearing some kind of a fencing jacket, obviously, for safety. So, this probably will hit harder, and it does have a different type of point, but, or I should say tip, because it's not pointed, but, again, it accepts these rubber caps, and they, all are going to have those if you're using them. So, but, here we go. That's the ZWA double wide epee, and I'm very glad to have one of these. I think it's a pretty awesome thing. And yeah, you can see the difference in the blades.